Hello and welcome to the Eddie Conversation Podcast. My name is Eddie Vigil and I am your host. This is episode number 108. And joining me today is Daniel Davis, a friend, a real estate investor. How else would you describe yourself up front here for the listeners
friend,
that may
real
not
estate
know you?
investor kind of covers it. Lately, it's been development as well, property managing. I have a hard time putting a title on my life. I left the W-2 life a few years back, and I kind of actually brought in like an existential crisis of like what am I? Because you leave these titles and you're like, what path am I on? And I wrestled with that for a few years. Had quite a bit of insecurity even about it, but. I haven't given a ton of thought to titles, but I guess real estate investor would be the most accurate one.
Okay. That sounds good. We'll start there because you also, the things I want to cover in this episode, you wrote a blog recently, which came across my feed of sorts. I think I saw it on Instagram and Facebook, but you wrote a blog kind of talking about your spiritual journey, right? Is that accurate to describe it in that way?
Yeah, roughly spiritual journey. I mean, I've been thinking for a few days, really quite a bit longer than that, really, but about all these different threads of my life, from the upbringing, there's the religious upbringing, then there's a marriage and a divorce, and there's a sexual piece, and then there's this trauma work that I'd been doing for a few years, and all these threads were kind of tying together. And I didn't really foresee it going in the spiritual direction. And in fact, when I started that journey, as I mentioned in that post, I was spiritually zero, completely non-existent. So I really had no idea it was going to end up on a spiritual road. And here I am now, kind of the beneficiary of all that work and all that. I don't know if beneficiary is the right word, but victim of some of these things as well. It's just these unfortunate things, but either way, it ended up being a very spiritual path, and I would call it even an awakening by the end of it to the present day.
Yeah, and that there's a lot there from reading your blog post. I want to dig into more, and I want to share pieces of it more specifically with the listeners that might not have read it, and also ask questions on kind of some loose threads that I saw throughout too that I want to kind of pull on a little bit. So there's that. I'm excited to talk about that. There's also the I think you said the real estate investment side too, because even hosted a game night recently, and you were there, and I know we're catching up with some old friends and stuff, seeing people we haven't seen in a while, and I just even remember from some of those conversations when you brought up what you're doing, I think somebody was like, "Oh my gosh, you're living out my dream.
Oh, yeah.
You're doing everything like this, you're doing what I want to be doing." Was I thought I heard a couple of people say that. Now, I don't know how often that happens to you when you talk about what you do, but getting some insight into how you got your start, and I think back to college too. I remember Facebook and seeing some different plans you were kind of transparent about through social media about this is my plan, this is the amount I need, this is what I'm doing with it. All that kind of stuff was kind of out there, and I want to talk a little bit about that. And the growth since then too is kind of exciting. And we're filming right now. Where are we right now?
We're in a project. Yeah, we're in a project at the moment. This is a house built in 1933 that I don't think I've had much maintenance work done on it for probably decades. And I bought it 2 months ago and completely rehabbed it. So this has just been a cosmetic fix up front, but then downstairs is a 900 square foot basement that I'm going to convert. And then there's a lot over here as well that I'm going to put a duplex on. And all those pieces are kind of in motion at the moment. So yeah, we're kind of we're in the manifestation of that whole real estate dream.
Yeah. So that's cool. And so there's that side. There's all of that. And then I don't know if this is even the right way to say it, but you do jujitsu.
Yeah, yeah, train as well. Yeah. I've been at it for about 11 years, a number of different schools, both in Reno and around the Lake Tahoe, and then up in Oregon, and now I'm back, of course. But um, yeah, that's been a whole other journey as well. There's been some like entrepreneurship in that space too, that maybe we'll get to. But yeah, jujitsu is kind of another big part of my life as well.
Yeah, yeah. Because I think, yeah, we met initially and through the running club at the university, right? Is
Yes,
that
I believe so. Yeah,
okay?
like 10 years ago, probably.
It's been at least that for sure. I hope it's maybe even longer than
Yeah,
that.
maybe.
Yeah,
Yeah, I graduated 2017, and so we'd probably been running for a few years before that. So
yeah. So that's cool. I'm trying to figure out where things went from there because like it is lovely getting to like we have. I consider it a re um what's the word like we spent time together here and there through running club and other like group events and stuff. Back then, I moved to LA and stuff and was doing a whole other thing. I just moved back to Reno. And you've been going through everything that you've been going through on your side too. You're here in Reno too. I remember talking to you a couple times being like, hey, where are you at? What's going
oh
on?
yeah, I was all over. Yeah,
Yeah. So like I'm back and getting to like reunite, I guess is
reunite.
how I kind
Yeah.
of see it. And it's like it's been great seeing you and spending more time with you
Hmm.
and these new phases that we're kind of in is fun.
Yeah,
So
likewise. We both kind of bounced
mhm.
away, did our thing for a while, and then came back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Okay. So all that said, that's kind of the upfront stuff I want to get to. The question is where to begin. Now, do we start where the people want to hear? Like, do we just get the money out of the way up front?
Probably starting with the blog post is kind of where,
Okay, is that what you're feeling?
yeah, I feel like that's some of the most fresh stuff,
Okay.
and that'll kind of tie into, I'm sure, into money and financials, and I mean, there's so many threads I left out of that blog post as well, so it was already getting long enough. So yeah, why don't we dive into that
Okay.
and just kind of see where it goes?
So for starters, yeah, let's have you talk about what prompted the blog post. How long were you writing it, and like
Mm-hmm.
what? How did it come
Kind
to
of what
be?
went
Yeah,
into it.
because
Sure, yeah. So I hadn't really been intending to write all that out. And then we had a couple snow days where like my project here was like kind of shut down because I'd been doing outside stuff. So I was like, well, I'm homebound anyway. Like, I'm just gonna get all these threads put together and just put in one. Turned out to be like enormous chunk of writing. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was kind of the culmination of a number of things, and I guess like the one thing that really kind of like, if I had to pick one moment that kind of like kicked off the like whole spiritual journey that I described in there, or at least made me aware of it, was sitting in, of all things, like it was like divorced couples therapy. Like the marriage was ending, we both kind of knew, and we're sitting in this therapy session, and the therapist has us grade our lives on these 8 different measures, basically. And you have like financial, you have social, you have health and nutrition and so on, sexual, and then one of them is spiritual. And obviously, sexual was a 0 because it was divorce therapy. So there's that for context. But every other piece was like 8s, 9s, 10s. And then I got to spiritual, and that was also a 0. And that struck me like I had not taken spirituality seriously since leaving Christianity in my early 20s. And in fact, after leaving Christianity, it was hardcore atheism. It was like angry, almost like militant atheism, like burn it down, like no patience, want to burn every bridge with everybody. Like I had a lot of resentment kept in that I wanted to like put out in the world. And the end result of that was like, yeah, spiritual 0. And it is not a coincidence to me that like that realization came in the middle of like, of all things, divorce therapy. Like, what an appropriate place to realize that you're like spiritually dead, and also that your partner, like her and I didn't go into too much depth on this, but I could tell you she would certainly agree that she was spiritually dead as well. So, man, just what a like good luck building a healthy relationship when there's like no spiritual element, and in fact you're anti-spirituality. So that was kind of the eye-opening moment. And that was kind of the first step of like realizing like, oh, there's something wrong in my life. Like there's like the cliche, you got like a hole in your heart, and like that became very aware. I became very aware of that at that moment. Um, yeah, does that resonate at all, like with you and your journey?
Okay. Well, um, as far as resonating with me, as far as the spirituality aspect that you bring up, yeah, it does have me reflect on. I don't think about it much either. I haven't thought about it much, but I okay. I'm trying to think about your side too without jumping too much to me here, but because I'll talk about me, myself through you here. You grew up, like you said, in a very Christian environment. And then in the blog post also you talk about like a full swing to the other side of the pendulum and atheism. Now finding yourself more in a spiritual kind of awakening on your side, which is, yeah, which sounds very profound and like it's a more wholesome space to be living, which sounds awesome. And I think at one point, one thing that resonated with me that happened in your blog post too is you're kind of talking about the difference between atheism and being agnostic, and you're kind of going through examples of that. And I was like, I think you talked about being agnostic as somebody who was like happy stopping at the I don't know, like does God exist? I don't know. Versus atheism, which is I don't know, and
Yeah, that's I did mention that a little bit. In agnostic, yeah, you stop at the I don't know and you kind of leave it there.
mm-hmm.
Well, like these hard questions of heaven and hell and God and the devil and so on, all this stuff. But then atheism takes it a step further and will actually say just like no, those don't exist. And there's different gradations of atheism. There's like, I mean, people can be dogmatic in atheism as well. Like I would even consider it like its own religion when people go far enough. Like you still want to keep an open mind, and that's where I tried to walk that line of like, okay, I just need evidence, and if we don't have evidence for God or any of this, like I'm just gonna say this doesn't exist. Like I have no problem saying other things that we don't have evidence for don't exist. So why would I have an issue with saying that about God? So I had no problem going farther than the agnostic would and into atheism. The trouble was there was so much hatred in my heart that I was so bitter that like I felt like I'd been deceived my whole childhood. So much energy had been put down into the church, and like I read the whole Bible cover to cover I don't know about multiple times, but definitely many books in the Bible multiple times. And it was just like I just felt like I had this big chunk of my life stolen from me by like an ideology. And yeah, I channeled that into anger. And that was my experience of atheism for several years, for like 5 or 6 years. Just burn it down. Like I felt terrible for my friends and family at that time because like I was coming after them. Like I was hunting. Like I was like, you guys are gonna pay for this. Like I'm gonna make you guys hurt, And I burned a lot of bridges. And there's something very ego feeding about that. It feels righteous. It feels like I'm vindicating myself. I'm setting the balance straight. But man, you can only do that for so many years before you are just a bitter, resentful person, and you have a wake of destroyed relationships in your past, and you're just cynical and angry, and I had to lighten up on that. And so there was like the first 5 years of atheism was that, the pendulum swinging back from like intense Christianity to intense hatred and atheism. And then I started to zen out a little bit and just kind of being like, okay, well, this is killing me. I'm a vessel of anger and hatred, and this is no way to live. And like, how can we like zen out, still be an atheist, but, not be like out for blood against like religious people.
Yeah.
And that was a calmer way to live for sure, but I could not break through the issue that at the end of the day with atheism, you're just kind of making up your own purpose. Like, and cynically, you could argue that religious people are doing the same thing as well, but it comes with all this infrastructure and this past and tradition and so on. And it feels a lot more real in that sense. But in atheist, you're just kind of making up like what feels good to me, like what purpose feels good to me. And I couldn't shake the feeling that just felt kind of arbitrary, kind of like the word I want to use is shallow, where you're just like, I don't know, I just picked something that made me feel good, like a purpose, and that ended up being pretty unsatisfying as well. And you're just like, really, this is all it is? Like, I just make something up? Like, this is my life? Like,
yeah, to me, it sounds like this is how I interpret it. It sounds isolating. Because that's I guess that's a part of my own recent journey too. Was realizing how isolated I had allowed myself to become, and that's kind of what that feels like. Is like when you talk about the infrastructure that religion offers, it's like a community feeling that it's like, okay, other people are doing it too, and there's history to whatever all the stuff that comes with
social
that. It feels
reinforcement.
like, yeah, at least I'm not in it alone. Can feel good. So I could see, like, that's what it sounds isolating and like a realization there of, I mean, that's how I can imagine myself going back and realizing, oh my gosh, I'm in this alone, and it doesn't, like, this isn't sustainable,
Yeah, that's the perfect word for it. Really, that's hit the nail on the head. That's it. It's an isolating path. Like, kind of necessarily, like, there are some like organizations for atheists out there, but like, you don't have a community of like-minded believers or like-minded thinkers that are easy to find. So socially it's isolating, intellectually it's isolating, and then add to that the arbitrariness of just like, I just can't find a purpose that really feels like it means anything beyond just like whatever I decide. And so it ends up just kind of being unfulfilling, was kind of my experience of atheism.
Yeah, I was going to ask, I can't recall if you mentioned this in the blog, but do you have examples of purposes you were experimenting with during that phase that weren't grabbing?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, like I came up with one for a time that was learn, create, find happiness. I was like, what if that's like my purpose? Just learn things, create things, and find happiness, whatever that means, in like relationships or activities. Like that resonated for like 3 months. A couple months, I'd be like, yeah, if I'm keeping intellectually engaged and I'm building things and I'm doing something that makes me happy, like that's a pretty good life, I guess. But it's like pretty arbitrary. And like, honestly, the issue with that was like, I ended up just feeling pretty selfish at the end of the day. After like a year or two of that, it was just like, I'm really just like doing this for me, like just for the experience of like finding happiness. Like, I'm not giving back to the world at all. Like, I feel like I'm just kind of treating the world like this instrument for my own gratification in a sense. And like, so yeah, that one didn't last. I felt good for a time, but ultimately I had to let that go. And then there's just a lot of periods of just like, I don't know. Just like, what's my like purpose in life? What's my mission? Why am I here? Like, I don't know. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, it's the trying to find something and not struggle. Yeah.
Yeah. And religion answers that really effectively. Like, you enter religion and they just kind of give you a module of just like, here's why you're here. This is your purpose. This is what you're doing here.
Here's what to think.
And here's what to think. And here's like how to talk. And here's what we believe. And like, it really answers all the hard questions for you. Um, I mean, that's what ideology is. You know, it's a package of beliefs that you can just kind of plug into your mind, and then you can just kind of like carry those beliefs forward, and you don't necessarily have to think about it anymore. You can kind of just have that nice answer, and everyone around you agrees with it, and that'll get you by too. I mean, that makes people feel really good. They don't feel directionless usually, or at least some people don't. I didn't
Yeah,
work for me,
it could
but
work
yeah, it can work.
for some people, I'm sure. Yeah. Okay. So let's see. I want to. You were talking about where were we? You were talking about going the pendulum swing, and then this moment of Zen that you were talking about,
Mm-hmm.
and I wanted to hear more about some specific elements that were going on there. And I don't know if these were happening in the moment or these are things that got you to. Let me just mention a couple of things that you brought up that I want to hear more about. And let's see, you talked about balance. You mentioned Tao Te Ching.
Mm-hmm.
This is in reference to like self-assessing your state of being. I guess, yeah, I was curious to gauge, like that's one thing, is how do you seek balance and also self-assess? How do you know you are in balance, and where did you start with getting into all that?
Sure, yeah. So the concept there, it's a concept in a book called The Tao, and the idea is like so much of our life is spent out of balance, like where we're too far on one side or the other. And the ideal is to find that state of balance where, like in this case, is like you have the really pious, devout Christian, and then you have the angry, hateful atheist, and like you can just swing back and forth or spend years on one side or the other, and like really the healthiest place to be is right there in the middle. And you see this in all kinds of different contexts. I mean, there's the student that works his butt off for years and years and years, and then graduates and is just like, I don't want to go to college. Or like once they finish college, like, oh, I'm done with working. Like, and then they like slack off for years and years and years. Like that's another example. Like the Tao out of balance, and then it swings back. It's out of balance again. So I mean, you want to find a place where you're in a sustainable path, where you don't feel like you're extreme on either side, and I guess like one way you can measure that is like how much energy is this requiring to keep this state alive? Like you want to be in a state where it's like your life is just flowing and you don't feel like you have to like put all this effort in to keep this motion alive. You know, and like we're back in the religious context is like it takes so much energy to constantly upkeep the reputation and to stay up on the new Bible studies and the books, and like it may not feel like energy because it becomes a lifestyle, but like if you just zoom out a little bit, you're like I'm way on one side of the spectrum here. And like maybe it would be healthier if I kind of balance, if I kind of lightened up a little bit. So that concept of the Tao really opened my eyes to be like, oh yeah, wow, like yeah, this isn't healthy being this far on the side of atheism. So ultimately coming back into that balanced state of like it took a bit of compromise in a way that like I still kind of struggle with, because like the intellectual side of me wants to be like data and evidence, just give me the data and evidence, and that's all like empirically, like that's what we should build our worldview around. Okay, but that's going to exclude basically all spirituality. Like everything spiritual exists outside of that realm, which is like, and that's why I was a zero for so long, because I demanded that evidence. So that's what I had to compromise on, to be like, all right, you know what? Let's bring some energy back in. Let's bring some prayer back in. Like these healthy things that like, honestly, like my whole life now is just about cultivating energy. Like that's number one. Like that's my mission now. It's just like, dude, if you have energy, like you're unstoppable. Like you can do anything you want, and you'll have the energy for it, and it will magnetically attract people. And you see people who are high energy, and you see people that are like completely closed off inside. And it's like, which life do you want? Like, you want to cultivate energy, I believe, and so hey, jump in if you got something, but
No,
I'll
continue,
just finish
continue.
that thought. Yeah. My whole life now is just about cultivating energy. And yeah, I had to step outside of the hardcore empirical evidence requiring mindset to accept that energy exists, which it absolutely does. We should get into that. Like, even though it's not in the Western canon of knowledge, like, it absolutely does. And I think we all know that, even here in the West. But like, for whatever reason, medical schools like don't take it seriously. It's hard to test. We don't have data on that. So
Yeah, let's talk about the energy
okay.
because how talk more about the West first. Like you mentioned that.
Mm.
Talk about that and also other ways of for somebody that's watching or listening that there's some examples of the West's version of energy, like
Mm.
because I'm trying to also think about a past version of you that did past Daniel. You didn't think this way previously, right? With energy, I'm guessing. Were you somebody who was anti?
Oh, it's so anti, dude.
Yeah.
Past me would be standing here going, "This idiot, this freaking like, what is he even talking?" Like, past me would burn this bridge. Like, he would just be like, "I don't have patience for this nonsense."
Yeah.
Like, so totally transformed on that.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. So, but what was past Daniel not saying? Yeah, I guess I'm trying to like, because
Past Daniel was so obsessed with being intellectually correct and defensible, and would not compromise on that at all. It was just what worldview maps the most onto the known reality. And that is atheism, like, almost by definition, because atheism is like evidence dependent, and you don't really change your views in atheism until you have evidence to do so, which is like the worldview mapping to reality. Like, that is it. I'll give atheism that. But past me would compromise on any benefit that spirituality would have imparted on my life or on my relationships or on my energy, which I didn't even believe existed. Past me would have said, I don't give a damn about any of that. Like, let the relationships burn, let the health burn. Like, all I care about is being intellectually defensible. And that was like on a pedestal in my life. And that had to come down. Like, I think there was a lot of ego in that.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of, God, I mean, there's probably a lot of insecurity in that, to be honest. Because, like, when you're insecure about who you are and your sense of self, you're trying to build this castle around your worldview that is just impenetrable, that you can just like defeat any enemy from intellectually. And I did that with this spirituality stuff. Versus if you're less insecure, it's like you can entertain new ideas better, and you can come down off of that intellectual high horse, and you're not trying to just crush your opponents with arguments.
Yeah, you're more open to listening. Yeah.
Exactly. So
Okay, so I think just to get back to the examples of the West, like I'll say we as Westerners will say things like, what was one of your examples? Like, oh, my energy is feeling low today. It'll just kind of come out in verbiage and kind of throwaway lines where it's not really being thought about, like what we're even saying, right? Is that like an example of one of those, or do you have a better one?
yeah. I mean, we all kind of know. We've used this. It's common parlance. Like, my energy's low today, or so and so's an Energizer bunny, or like, that person I hate when they come by because it just kills my energy. Like, we all kind of know what that means, even though we can't really articulate it if you start getting a little deeper, unless you put some thought into it. But we all, I think, intuitively know what that means. Like, there is just kind of like, God, we really have a good language for it. Like, there is just kind of an energy level that we all carry. And like, I've been in periods of my life where that energy is just blocked. It is not flowing. There's just a tiny little trickle of life force going through me. And maybe it's a bad relationship. Maybe it's a bad employment situation. Really, if I had to boil it down to a first principle, this one covers a lot of blockages. It's when your life is going in a direction that is not authentic to who you are. That. Can I just repeat? When your life is going in a direction that is not authentic to who you are, that is an energy blockage that you will not get around. That, and because you know in your heart, like, God, I should not be in this town. I should not have this job. I shouldn't be in this relationship, but here I am. I shouldn't be studying this, but I'm just doing it because my parents want me to, and like, it sounds good on a resume, but like in my heart, I don't want to do it. That is such an energy killer. And a lot of us like adopt these habits and lifestyles that are not in alignment with our true authentic self. And so yeah, that's that. If I had to point to one major blockage, that would be it.
Can you describe blockage for us as well? Because that's important vocabulary.
Yeah. So the idea is, and this comes from like the work of Michael Singer, for instance. Like he's kind of my teacher on this, like from his books. The idea is like we are naturally fountains of energy. Like the energy wants to flow. Like it's there already. Like you don't have to bring it in. It's there. But then we accumulate these blockages. And like I mentioned, you're living a life inauthentic to what you maybe should be living, inauthentic to your heart. That's one. But also unprocessed traumas. That's another one. Like, I mean, yeah, let's say you had a bad, maybe you were bullied in high school or something. And like now you have this sense of shame and insecurity around your clothing or your body type or whatever. Like that will become a blockage as well that will not go away until it's integrated. Traumas are a big one. Sexual trauma is a big one. I'm sure more could come to me, but we just kind of accumulate these blockages over time. And this you look at a kid before they have all these blockages accumulated, they're just beaming with energy. They're running everywhere. They're beaming with joy. And then over time, they get jaded and they get burnt out and they get angry. Like that's an accumulation of blockages that kind of naturally happens throughout life if you're not paying attention to it. And the idea is like, firstly, recognize that that's a phenomenon at play. And then secondly, say, okay, well, where are my blockages? And like you can do an intellectual practice on it, but really if you just live your life, you'll notice them. Like, for instance, for me, like I wrote about this in that blog post, like there's a whole other situation, but I had a family member who was murdered and we spent a whole time in a court dealing with the murder trial. And the murderer's in there and the family of the murderer is over there, and I was very close to that family. And that was weeks of a pretty traumatic experience, and they're going through all the text messages and all the interactions between the murderer and my brother. And coming out of that, like, I mean, there's just trauma all over that situation, but coming out of that courtroom specifically, you're like, for like this is only 2.5 years ago, it's still fairly recent, but for like 2 years, I was like allergic to courtrooms. Like even the thought of one, I was like, you could just feel it inside. You're like, oh, like it just tightens you up. That's a blockage. Like that's a sign. Like you just live your life and you'll bump into them, and like you'll see a sign for a lawyer and you'll be like, oh, okay, there's a blockage. And that's just one situation, and we've accumulated blockages throughout our entire lives. But when you feel that, that's a sign to be like, okay, what was that? Where did that come from? I'm stopping what I'm doing. I'm going to take 30 seconds. It doesn't take long. I'm going to take 30 seconds and recognize that blockage. And the way you integrate it is you're like, how are you trying to protect me? Like whatever part in your mind that's coming from, how are you trying to protect me? What's the message I need to hear from you? And in this case, like in like the court situation, it'd be like, there's trauma here. There's a fear here. My whole intuition around life and death, and like you just assume you're going to live to 90. Nope, you might get off very early. Like that whole intuition is thrown off now, and that blockage in this case is telling me like, hey, there's stuff you got to work on here. There's like an intuition you need to hone because you went through this traumatic experience. And then you might do that work, and you might like go further down trying to nurture that intuition. And if you just keep doing that blockage will go away. It'll release. Then it might take 20 times of doing that, but eventually
Yeah.
you can let that blockage go, and that energy will be able to flow again.
Yeah. That's hard work. Very hard work. Because I even think about me me thinking about trying that with different parts of my life, and how with a certain, I guess, past me, there's a version of me in the past that tried to address certain things like that with like the mind over matter aspect, with like, okay, this is a thing. If I just throw myself in the cage and just face it, then this will be helpful. But often I'd get into trouble by like too much too quick, and kind of resparking. Um, so, or I guess get additional proof that, okay, yeah, this thing is there to, it's trying to protect you, right? Like it's trying to keep you safe. And the that again, getting back to balance of, like you said, there's some version of feeling or energy awareness in the one baby step at a time, giving it the 30 seconds, giving it the, like, I think in the blog you gave an example of like, or in your case, like a courthouse, or it's like, okay, today I'm actually going to walk in front of one instead of driving a different way around town. I'm going to just drive down the street, and that's my goal. Okay, next time I'm going to walk next to it, or like whatever the case may be, is like building that up. Um, that sounds very brave and very difficult work. And yeah, I don't know how, yeah, where did you, was this through reading, or was this through some like therapy that you learned the skills to face this? Because I feel my, not like an alarm bell, but like a bell goes off when I hear people say things that are avoiding those blockages. Whether it's like, oh, I don't want to sit over there because so and so is over there, or let's not do this because I'm like, okay, these are like fear alerts that are coming in, and I don't. It's hard to be there for other people that are going through that, but I see it in myself too with that as well. But
Yeah, well, tying kind of into what we were talking about earlier, like realizing in divorce therapy that I was a spiritual zero and being like, okay, there's something wrong in my life. Like, I'm bitter, I'm angry, I'm in the middle of a divorce. God damn it, like everything's falling apart. Like, I need to take the spiritual stuff seriously, and that initiated a multi-year learning experience, deep dive into books, yes, Michael Singer specifically, and also No Bad Parts by Richard Schwartz. Totally changed my life. Reintroduced spirituality back in a way where I was like, this feels right. This is not ideology. This is not dogma. This doesn't require me to make claims that like feel intuitively wrong the way that religion did. Like, this is healthy spirituality. And then also years of therapy. I mean, as futile as it was, there's quite a bit of couples therapy in there. Um, and then also individual therapy too. So, and then even after the therapy kind of served its course, and I wrap that up, like I still continue with a daily, it's roughly 30, 45-minute meditation, prayer, parts work also, from the No Bad Parts book, but all of that inspired by predominantly by those two books. Yeah.
nice.
Yeah. So there's the energy blockage piece, and you're right. Like it's not that simple, or at least it may not be. It may be that you just need to have that conversation. How are you trying to protect me? Thank you. I love that part. I'm going to let you go now. I'm going to release you to the universe. I'm not going to carry this trauma anymore. I'm going to let it go. And you breathe it out. And that might take 15 times, and it might be that easy. Or there might be what Dick Schwartz calls like protectors in there, where you try to get into something painful and hurtful, but there's like another part in your mind that's like, nope, don't go there. If you go there, I'm going to make you hurt. And then that's like another element of like, okay, well, I got to deal with this protector, and there's kind of a procedure for doing that. And honestly, like, we're kind of getting in the realm of stuff that probably is like best done with a professional, because it can get like kind of dangerous. In fact, even because like protectors, like they'll even drive someone to kill themselves. Like they will take someone's life to avoid the pain of experiencing what they're protecting that person from. So like this can be kind of like, it's kind of intense work. But you know, if you have a protector that you want to like try and get around, like there's a whole process of like, you talk to the protector, you say, how are you protecting me? Do you mind stepping aside for a moment? Just step in the other room. I'm just going to talk to grief, or I'm going to talk to the critic, or whatever sexual trauma. I'm just going to talk to him for 5 minutes. You can stand right there. You can listen to everything. And you kind of create this conversational dynamic. And it may say no, but oftentimes it will say, all right, but I'm going to be listening closely. I'm going to jump in if I have to. And you say, thank you. I'm going to talk to this part now. And then you have a little heart to heart with whatever it was protecting you from. And then you kind of back up and you say, I'll check back in with you later. There's a whole process to it. I mean, this is the work of therapists.
Yeah.
And it's really life changing and spiritual as well. There's a spiritual element to it.
Highly recommend.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, it sounds, yeah, because there's a book I read. Oh my gosh. I'll skip it anyway. Yeah, I have heard about that technique through reading. It wasn't that specific book, but it did talk about lots of different therapy options, and yeah, I have heard about that, but I wish I remember the name of the book. But okay, yeah, these are. I'm trying to think on how to like. How to. I guess I was going to say how to encourage others to be open to exploration of the self, because that's kind of what I'm hearing as a whole is being open to exploring. Like, well, I didn't enjoy that feeling, instead of avoiding it and having the thought of like, I'm just going to try not to think about it, or I'm going to, like there's those instincts that we can have to not face these things, and instead change that mindset to like, here's an opportunity to understand myself better and to help this energy flow through me better. Because perspective shifts, I mean, we have to go through some crazy stuff often to have drastic perspective shifts. So I guess, okay, yes, it would be how.
Maybe we could talk about the self a little bit.
Okay.
Excuse me.
Yeah, that's great.
Because like you bring up a really important point. Like the self is like, wow, like it's the old saying, like know thyself, right? Like most people, probably 90+% of people hear that and go, that just means I need to know my opinions. I need to know what I think about Trump. I need to know, have some degree of moral compass. Like, okay, I know myself. Like, no, that's not what that statement
Or
means.
can I throw a little joke in there real quick?
Of course.
From I was thinking of Barbie as well, where she's interrogating Ken, and he's like, "Beach? No, Ken, you're not beach," because he works at the beach. Like he's like a lifeguard or whatever. So it's like, I'm beach.
like, who am I? I've never thought of myself
beach.
outside of beach.
Yeah, like it's the what I do essentially is the joke there. But yeah.
That's another way. Is like I'm an analyst. I'm a whatever job. Like that's who I am. I know myself. No. There's so much more depth to that concept. And honestly, like we were saying earlier about the primary blockage being living a life that's not authentic to yourself. That happens because people don't take the time to know thyself. And I know this because that was me for 29, 30 years. Like you're living your whole life driven basically by insecurity, driven by what are other people going to think about me? How does this make me look? Does this make me attractive to the person I care about?
Me trying to prove myself in some way, yeah.
Am I trying to prove myself? Reinforce, like build the castle around my ego so that I feel safer inside. That was my life for 30 years. And I think that's a lot of people's lives until they maybe go through like a major trauma and they realize that worldview is fragile and that actually that castle can get knocked down real quick. Like real quick. and all of a sudden you're like, whoa, like I'm just a naked ego in here, and all these things that I was proud of just got wiped out financially, reputationally, like you name it. It can all just gone. And if you don't know yourself, who the real self is in there, like you disintegrate. Like literally, you'll disintegrate in your mind. The parts will just break apart. So, like, what I take to mean by like know thyself, this comes mostly from Dick Schwartz's book, No Bad Parts. And the idea is that there is a framework of mind. And we all kind of know. We all say like, part of me wants this, part of me wants that. Like, huh. And we just kind of use that tongue in cheek without realizing like there's actually something kind of deep going on there. Like, what do you mean there's different parts in your mind and they have conflicting interests? Zoom out a little bit too and pull those parts back, and you'll find that there's underneath all these parts, the ego part, the analytical part, the critical part, the entrepreneurial part, whatever. Underneath all of them, there's a core self under there. And it can be buried for one's entire life. Decades can go by and someone will not know themselves. They will not ever peel off those parts. The way that I think of it is you have the stream of consciousness, all of the thoughts that just feed one into another, the endless radio program of thoughts, right? It's just chattering in our minds. You have to step outside of that or find another way to turn it off meditatively. Meditation actually is a great way to do that. And realize that when the thought stream is turned off, that there is something still there. There is still a point of consciousness in there. And that point of consciousness is you. That's the real Eddie. That's the real Daniel. Like, that's what it means to know thyself. Who is that? Who is that outside of the stream of consciousness? Because it has its own interests and it has its own desires and things it's attracted to. And that's what it means to know thyself. Develop a relationship with that point of consciousness, or better yet, let that point of consciousness through. That's what it means to live an authentic life. You're living authentic to who you are. And if you're just a stream of consciousness, the endless thought after thought after thought after thought, from waking to sleeping, you don't know. You can't know yourself. Like, that's not the self. So that is, wow, that blew my mind. Like, that's an understatement. That changed my whole worldview. And I still remember I went hiking in Yosemite after reading this book, No Bad Parts. And I was like, all right, I'm actually going to do these exercises. And I'm hiking. It was like basically a 4-day silent meditation. And I'm doing the exercises. And it's just like shuddering. Like, it's like goosebumps down my whole body when the first time I pulled that self out and was like, that's me. Like, that's who I really am. Like, all these thoughts that I've just had on constant, endlessly scrolling through my mind, that's not me. And in fact, I disidentify with them. And now I've got this whole mission, and this is like the real mission of life. Know thyself. I need to know who that being is. What are his interests? What is he attracted to? What does he want to do with this, couple years, decades of existence? And once you do that, once you realize that, you can start curving your life around its interest. And that's what it means. Like I said a moment ago, that's what it means to live authentically. Change everything. That is the spirituality that I can get on board with.
So, yeah, knowing thyself, that experience you had, you said Yosemite, and like you said, the first time you were experimenting with an exercise, you had the goosebumps, you had this whole profound experience. And what does it feel? What does it feel like? I guess maybe there's a little gap in there for me from witnessing thyself and having this experience of like, oh my gosh, I see it, or I feel it, or whatever experience that is. And then going to the realization of I am now aware that I'm not living in like there's things I'm doing now that are in service of the self,
that are not in alignment.
that are not in alignment. Um, but it sounds like, 'cause I haven't had an experience quite like that, but I have to imagine that it gives a lot of confidence to like a new regrounding of almost like purpose in a way, like a life's purpose of like, okay, I feel on more stable footing now because I have this newfound knowledge that can help guide me in a direction as almost like a starting point is what it feels like.
Yeah, it's the starting point of authentic living, and you will a person will spend decades constructing an inauthentic life. I don't know, maybe it's the same all over the world, but our country, this area, like rampant. And that's like the default mode, I feel like, is to live a life that is like, well, I'm supposed to go to college and I'm supposed to get a job and I'm supposed to climb the corporate ladder and I need to buy a new car and I gotta like put the bigger house. Like all these things that you're like, okay, but like if you could pull the thought stream off for a minute and pull the self out and get to know, like, let that self sit in the captain seat of consciousness. Like, I even picture, like, you know, like the scene in, like, Star Trek where you got all the...
Seeking Inside Out, but
Yeah, it's the same concept. We have, like, the commanders and everything of the different departments, and then you have the captain seat. It's like, that self needs to be in the captain seat, and all those commanders need to be in alignment under that self. And there's times to let them out. There's times when, like... I have a very analytical part, for instance. And there's a time I will consciously say, like, analytical, go. You're off the leash. Go. This is your problem. Do your thing. And then it's like, okay, we solved that, and now I'm coming back to self. Like, there's a time to let the parts do their thing. They're there for a reason. But by default, you want to exist in self. You want the self to sit in that captain seat. And if the self is nowhere to be found, something else will sit in that captain seat and guide the whole ship. And that's the inauthentic life. Now you're living around insecurities, and you're living to serve your ego, and you're living to look impressive. And yeah, I mean, that's what a great regret.
yeah, it sounds like the word that comes to mind for me is intentionality. Because this is a lesson that's sunk in for me more recently, is if intentionality isn't there, like you kind of said, something will some part of you will sit in that captain seat that you may not want there if you're not keeping an eye, if you're not like managing, or like the awareness exercises of being intentional about who's in the seat and why they're in the seat. Then that's when things kind of get out of hand in a way. It also reminds me of a song lyric. I don't know the name of the song, but I think the lyric is like, it's not hard to be yourself. It's hard trying to be someone else. Like there's which is what comes to mind when you're saying that, is like, it takes so much effort to construct a life of a version of you that isn't authentic, when you could just sit back and be who you are in a way.
And it's cliche, right? But like, no, we put so much effort into building that life that serves the ego. That's really what that's what a big part of it is. Like, it's a lot of serving the ego, a lot of reinforcing one's own insecurities. That's another big part of it. But really, you cannot, like, just imagine this. Like, could you imagine lying on your deathbed, if you have that luxury of a moment of looking back before your death and saying, man, damn it, I lived my life too authentically. I lived according to my heart too much. I let my heart guide me, and I lived the life that was was too aligned with who I was.
And regretting it, you're saying?
Could you even imagine?
No.
No, but it goes the other way all the time, where people will lay there and be like, God, I spent so much time in the office. Like, great, I was chief whatever officer, but like, I don't even know my kids. And I hated that whole journey. I hated the whole career. Like, I wanted to be a carpenter.
Yeah. That's the classic scene of the dad talking to the son and saying, like, I'm sorry, I never said I loved you. And I was like so angry all the time with you. Like stuff like that comes out at the last moments. Like yeah, it's
That's really,
sad.
it's
It's
really
sad.
telling. Like, you would never regret living too authentically. Yet we almost like the common phenomenon is that people regret living inauthentically. And I think we just get sucked into the day to day and we forget about that. And a part of it is because many people don't even know themselves to whom they would live authentically anyway. They haven't pulled the self out from the stream of consciousness, so that they can't even live authentically, even if they wanted to. Like, it's not a judgment. It's just, if you don't know yourself, like, what are you going to be authentic to?
Yeah, yeah, for sure.
So, I mean, now we're kind of coming back around on like, well, what purposes have I found in atheism? Bringing back in some spirituality,
Okay, yeah.
and now we're coming around to some of those, like, live authentically, like, live true to your heart, like, cultivate energy. And my third one now is reverse local entropy. I love that as well. But like, that's the mission now, and like, that aligns with me spiritually. Live authentically, cultivate energy, reverse local entropy.
You want to explain that last one? Because this is a new term you're just bringing up now.
Sure. Yeah, throw a little bit in the end. Yeah. So, I mean, reverse local entropy, like, we have the ability and the privilege to make our environments better by the nature of us having been there. And that isn't just environment. That isn't just your home. That can be your relationships. That can be your kids. That can be your health. That can be your intellect. Entropy just gets hold of everything, and it will slowly disintegrate everything. And you see people whose lives are like, they let the entropy get too far, and it's like they let the physical surroundings get too chaotic, and they let the mind get a little too disorganized, and the health is starting to slip. I mean, this is a quick path to death. Spiritual death, if anything, but physical death as well. I mean, you let your health go, and all of a sudden one thing adds to another, and sickness compounds, and diabetes, and then you have kidney failure, and it just goes on and on. I mean, this just starts adding up, the entropy, and it's like, if that entropy had been identified early on and then fixed, that was the time to do it. Because when it's going to take a Herculean lift to I got to get the diabetes figured out, I got to get the Lasix and the kidney failure, and it's like, oh, well, good luck with that.
And I can't sleep anymore, and yeah.
And my legs hurt, and I got sores. I'm like, good luck. I mean, like, really, I mean, honestly, good luck. But like, that is going to be so much harder than if you had the mindset constantly running, just like, I reverse local entropy. I find entropy in my life, and you don't have to be neurotic about it. Like, my house looks lived in. Like, it's okay. It doesn't have to be perfectly in its place. But like, yeah, you want to have the mindset of just like, things that are getting out of order or disorders catching hold in any dimension of your life. Like, don't let that slip. Like, spiritually, like, don't let it go. Like, fix that early. And the benefit of that, I mean, so many. You live like a more harmonious life. Your home is more enjoyable, your health, etc. But I would even go all the way into the mind and say, your mind is more ordered. You can think clearer. You can plan ahead. Like,
yeah, you can be more present.
You can be more present.
What I'm hearing, yeah.
Exactly, yeah. I mean, if you let the chaos in your mind, and you think of like tabs on a computer, like a Chrome, if you got 400 tabs open, like, good luck, like, staying productive. Like, that's too much entropy. You can't focus on anything.
Yeah. Some people take pride in that sticker.
I probably do have like 70 tabs on my computer. I tolerate some entropy, but they're all grouped up. They try to stay
sure
straight ordered.
Yeah,
we're not.
Wow. Okay. Well, I don't think this is what's trying to be said here. I don't think the message is aim for perfection, or like that's not that's not attainable, and that's not a thing in a way.
And it's going to turn a lot of people away.
Yeah,
And you're going to kill yourself doing it. You don't want to be neurotic about it. I mean, that's not perfection. No, you don't have to sweep every day.
for sure.
Don't go too far. I mean, there's
Live your life.
live your life, but also have that intuition active constantly.
Yeah. Okay. So I'm gonna ask a question here. It kind of going off of what you were kind of saying about you're kind of half jokingly say, well, you're good luck. Like if you're down a path of not nipping it early and it grows. I'm trying to think of somebody. Well, I'm thinking of somebody specific here. A coworker of mine, just today actually, was asking me a question, and I didn't really have a good answer for him. But he's like, he's approaching mid-30s, and he's got a kid on the way, and married, and he's like, you know what? I need a perspective shift. And he's saying, he's like, I find myself getting angry and carrying, like wasting a lot of energy on stuff that I don't want to be wasting it on. Like, why do I care? Why am I so upset about daylight savings time messing up my sleep? I don't have no, there's, what am I going to do? Or like, somebody at work does something that you didn't like the decision they made. Like, oh, why'd they make the decision? Like, they should have obviously done this. Like throwing this energy away and this frustration. And he was telling me an example he gave was he enjoys skiing. He was up on the slopes, and he was like, I noticed two different sets of like older gentlemen on the slopes. There was like a, I don't know, 60s, 70s year old guy skiing, and he was like carrying a lot of bitterness and anger and sending it out into the world, getting frustrated, people getting in his way, being really grumpy, and just that kind of energy. And then moments later, he's riding the lift back up, and another older gentleman, similar age range, is sitting next to him, and he's like positive and excited, and he's like, oh my gosh, like I got a house up here. I built it in 1960. I've been here ever since. I ski every day. Aren't we so lucky to just be up here in the mountains living life? So he had these like polar opposite.
It's like, which road are you going to go down?
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to be the guy who's grumpy, but right now that's how I feel. And I want to be this other guy, and I need a perspective shift. And I'm like, I don't know. Well, yeah, but like, I think I said, I didn't say anything too profound. I was mostly just listening to him because that's where I was there. But I did find it very interesting, and I'd be curious to hear what your thoughts are for somebody that he's like, I'm open. He's like, I'm living my life open to messaging, and I'm trying to like, but it's not grabbing, and I don't know what to do.
That's a great example. And if I would say that the angry, embittered guy who's skiing in Tahoe of all places, right? Like, pretty beautiful spot. Like, that guy's full of blockages. That's it. I would put my money on that. That guy has accumulated so many blockages. And like I was saying about seeing like a billboard for an attorney and that triggers the blockage in me around courts, like that's just one example. That's just one billboard. And if you go through life and you're accumulating blockages here and you're accumulating blockages there and there and there and there, and before you know it, you can't turn around without something triggering an anger in you, something triggering a resentment in you. And you could be in the most beautiful place on earth, skiing, in your retirement. It should be great, right? And you're still finding things about, oh, this damn kid in front of me is going so slow. Like, you still find things to grumble about and be bothered by because you've built this prison of blockages around you, and you can't even move in your life without bumping one of them. And it's like, maybe the kid in front of you is going slow, and for most people, it wouldn't even matter. Like, they wouldn't even notice, which is kind of telling in itself. It means, like, hey, this is a choice. Like, most people are not even going to notice this. Like, to the old grumpy guy, like, you can be one of those people and just not even notice it. But when you have a blockage, you have something raw in you. And maybe it's because, I don't know, you speculate. Who knows? Like, maybe a kid going slow in front of him tripped him at one point and he broke his knee cap, and now he's really bitter about kids on ski slopes and no kids should be allowed on the mountain. Like, maybe, it doesn't matter, I speculate, but like, that would be a blockage. And like, a more spiritually awake person would feel that urge, that trigger, that landmine get triggered, and would say, oh, okay, there's a blockage right there. How are you trying to protect me? What message are you trying to tell me? Thank you. What do I need to be aware of about this situation? Oh, yes, I did break my knee when there was a kid. Okay, I'll be mindful. Thank you. You can relax. I can let you go now. I've got it from here. I'll be mindful of that. You're speaking to your part, the triggered part. I'll be mindful of that. You can relax. I'm going to let you go now. I got it from here. And it may not happen. It may take a couple times, but that guy filled with bitterness, it's a great example, man. Because you really, like, that's it. Do you want to be that guy filled with bitterness in the most beautiful place on earth? Like, if you don't address your blockages, that's the path you're going to be down. Or you spend your life releasing blockages, and the other side of that coin, by the way, of healing is you have releasing blockages and you stop accumulating them. It's like, let go of the ones you have and stop adding new ones. Like, that's what you have to do to be the happy guy who's just like, nothing's getting to him. Nothing can wreck his day. Like, and it doesn't have to be an old guy either. It could be your friend in his mid-30s. I would bet he's got a bunch of blockages, and they're getting triggered by random little things. And it's different for every person based on his life, based on his traumas, based on his insecurities. His blockages are not going to be my blockages or yours. So like, he needs to do that self-work, find them, listen to them, thank them, tell them, hey, I got it from here. You can relax now. I don't need you to protect me like this anymore. I got it. I'm 35 years old. Sometimes those parts don't even know. The part might think that you're still a 12-year-old when the blockage was originally imprinted. I'm 35 years old now. I got this. You let that go. That's how I want to live my life.
Sounds great.
I'll
let him know tomorrow.
Okay. See if that resonates. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, No, I agree. I think that's great. I think that's very actionable. It's step one. The way that I think about it is like, step one is the awareness of it at all is a great first step. Right.
Yeah,
like
when they pop up, you're gonna bump. You can't just sit down and be like,
yeah.
all right, pencil and paper, I'm gonna write out all my blockages. Like, I mean, maybe they're that apparent, but more likely, you got to go through your life, and you'll just notice them.
Yeah.
The kid in front of you on the ski slopes making you angry. Oh, there's a blockage. The roommate leaving his dishes, and it's making you more angry than it should make you. Oh, there's a blockage there too.
Yeah. I don't know. This is a smaller one, but I haven't explored it much. But for some reason, I've been getting upset with all the custom license plates around town. And I was telling my girlfriend Michelle about it too. I was like, I gotta stop reading these things. Or like, why are these things pissing me off so much? I'm like, these people they're trying to be so clever. Like, why does everybody have to have like this riddle on the back of their car that I'm spending this so much energy trying to like solve it, and then I get upset when I solve it. Whatever. So like, I've been doing the exercise with like, okay, I acknowledge that there's a plate there. Allow myself to notice it, and then like I'm choosing to move on instead. I was like, I don't think I haven't had the exercise of addressing it verbally with myself, but an internal release of like just these license plates. Yeah. But that's how I'm interpreting it right now. It's like, okay, yeah, I know what that feels like. But yeah, either way.
I wonder, like, maybe an ex-girlfriend had a vanity plate. And,
I wonder.
yeah, I'm not gonna
I,
psycho. I don't know, but like you wonder like where that kind of thing comes from. But there could be some like that's like kind of obviously a silly
because I had a custom
example,
plate at
but
one point.
oh, well, maybe it reminds you of a painful time in your life. I mean, I don't know. I'm not trying. I really
Yeah.
don't want to say psychoanalyze, but like it probably like
There's something
most
there.
people don't notice vanity plates and the fact that they're triggering something. It means there's probably something in you that's like, yeah, it could use a little integration. Could use some recognition and say maybe thinking back to whatever period of that time in your life was, and I don't know. I mean,
Yeah. That's
could
it's
be
worth
healthy.
it's worth exploring for
Yeah.
sure. It's
It's a good example. I mean, it's like it seems silly, but like that's what they are, man.
yeah, similar to like the billboard or whatever. Like
A
it could
billboard,
be
another silly
any
thing.
yeah.
Like, but they're just these random little things we pick up through life that become little trip mines of negativity.
Yes. We are doing pretty good on time, meaning we don't have much time left.
yeah, I know. There's a lot to get into on that.
So okay. Is there anything let's close out your blog with your could I have you read your final chapter and maybe add anything, or your final paragraph and add anything to
Of course.
it?
Okay, so it says, all that matters is that one finds a route that resonates with them. There are many paths up the mountain, and they all lead to the same place, the flow of spirit and the cultivation of life energy. Spiritual growth, no matter which route one takes, should result in the liberation of life force, the removal of energy blockages, a nurturing of self separate from the endless thought stream, and ultimately more vital energy, not less. Keeping in mind that progress can take time, if the spiritual path one is on isn't resulting in greater spiritual life energy, or worse, is actively stealing your energy, it's time to consider another route up the mountain. It doesn't matter which path one takes. All that matters is that one finds a path that resonates and begins walking.
It's lovely.
Thank you. Yeah, the thinking there is like, I'm trying to stand apart from ideology. Like, ideology say this is how it is, you need to conform, or like we don't want you, basically. Okay, that's not spirituality. That is anti-spirituality. And in fact, like, spirituality is such a unique experience. Like, there are people that go through Alcoholics Anonymous and like spiritually awaken and like develop. They may use different language for it than I use energy and parts and so on. Like, they may have different language, but it's the same concept of like, I feel alive. I can feel my life force flowing. Like, I'm alive again. Like, maybe it goes through AA. Maybe it's psychedelics. People can use psychedelics and have all kinds of spiritual awakening. Like, the point isn't that like, hey, this is the path and you need to get on it and I found it and let me tell you how to do it and you need to conform to blah blah blah. No. The path, like the mountaintop, I like that metaphor. The mountaintop, that is spiritual awakening, meaning cultivation of life energy. You're feeling more alive. You have the life force flowing. You have a sense of self outside of the endless stream of consciousness. Like, that's the mountaintop. It doesn't really matter how you get there. And honestly, like, to give it its credit, like, some people do find that in traditional religion. Okay, you want to take the Christian path or the Islamic path or the Buddhist path? That's fine. Like, I would really be cautious of ideology. Like, I would just say get ideology out of your life in general, because it's like, it kills your critical thinking. But it doesn't matter. All that matters is that you're on a path that is taking you closer to more life force, more spiritual energy, a stronger sense of self. Like, that's it. That's spiritual awakening. And I had to go through 21 years of intense ideology, Christian ideology, and then like 5 years of angry atheism, 3 years of like zened out atheism. And then finally, in the last like 2 or 3 years, now I've found the Tao. Now I've found the like, okay, this is authentic to who I am. This lets my heart be who it wants to be in life. I don't feel like I'm conforming to anything. I don't feel a pressure to behave in a certain way or protect my ego or sound smarter than I am. I've done and I will continue to do this work to identify that self and know thyself. I mean, that's a lifelong journey right there. Like if that's not spiritual waking, I don't know what is,
Yeah.
And like it's a far cry from that zero. Sitting there in divorce therapy is a zero.
That's amazing. Congratulations. I don't know. No, I'm happy. No, I'm happy
thanks,
for you.
man.
That's
Yeah,
great.
no, it's been very healthy, completely life-changing. The energy I'm talking about, man, I mean, like, it's palpable. It's like, it's goosebumps on the inside is how I describe it. Like, it's like vibration on the inside. Like, it's a palpable physical feeling. And most of us live our lives just kind of like, well, when we feel it, we feel it. We don't. I don't know. Ooh, this feels like I feel unstoppable, but then the next day it's gone and you don't feel that again for 6 months. Like, no, that is not, you don't have to just like wait for it to come to you. Like, that is the life force I'm referring to. Like, you can cultivate that and have that at will. You can have that every day. And like in my morning meditation, like, I mean, like literally every day, like you can sit there and I'll feel the pulsation and the like, I'm like, oh, okay. Like I feel alive. Like I feel like I'm feeling unstoppable. It's like how it feels. It's a really positive feeling. And that should be the byproduct of spirituality, not conformity, not suppression of self, not living a life that's inauthentic to who you really want to be. And
and the other message I take from it too is like you end it with as long as you're on the path, that's kind of all that matters. It's like you're taking steps forward. So that kind of brings it back to what you were saying earlier about, like, I think about the person who's kind of deep in it and would have a long path out, like they're starting way down the hill or whatever the metaphor equivalent would be. And it's like, still start taking steps. There's,
start identifying blockages.
Yeah.
That would be a good place to start. Just start identifying blockages. And there's some that are going to be so painful to remove. Like, man, we could talk all night. Like, I realize time, but like, I spent several months in Europe last year, and the large purpose of that trip was like, there is some seriously painful stuff that I need weeks of solitude to let out. Like, I cannot just do this on a Saturday afternoon. Like, there might be stuff in there that is that intense. Like, I need 3 weeks of seeing nobody and just like let this emotion flow raw, listen to what that part has to say, contend with the terror and the grief and the regrets and the pain. Like, that, those are the big steps up the mountain. But like, you can also start with the small stuff. You can start with the vanity plates and the attorney's billboard and why does that bother me? And like, I'm going to let that go. And that's even a step up the mountain of cultivating a little bit more life force.
Yeah, it's to the way I see it is it's building a new muscle in a way. It's like you start with small weights and you build your way up to the bigger stuff. Like you almost literally can't go straight to 3 weeks in isolation, expect anything to happen if you haven't lifted anything before. Like, again, good luck. Like,
you hurt yourself.
Yeah, there
you
go.
hurt yourself. I mean, no, I mean it when I say like there's a reason why professional therapists exist, and some of those parts in there would rather kill you, would rather have you commit suicide than experience the pain they're protecting you from. Like, it can get heavy.
Yeah,
it's not all just, and even like the small stuff, you might think like, oh, it's just a billboard for an attorney. Oh, actually though, that's going to activate the trauma and the grief and the fear and the sadness and the regret and the like total instability. And yeah, I mean, that, you don't know. I mean, I would still recommend taking those small steps, but like being mindful, like, well, this could actually get intense. Like, and you don't know what that string is going to lead to when you start pulling it. But don't not pull it. Like, don't walk around with the blockages, or you're going to be that guy on the mountain who's angry and bitter, even though he's in the most beautiful place doing the most beautiful thing. like you still got to do the work to get that string
Mm-hmm.
moving.
I like it. I like it.
Yeah, man. Maybe we'll do part two. Man. I feel like there's a ton more we can cover, but that's like
All right,
that's a
part
lot
two
of good
next
ground.
week. No, I think that's a good first lesson, a good first session on that because there's more to dive into. We could always, I mean, I can always talk to you more outside of this too, but
I'm sure we will. Yeah.
but no, that would be great for okay. I will transition us out of that topic.
Okay.
Just to hit a couple. These are almost like rapid fires at this point, but we'll see. We gotta hit finance, and
Yeah. Okay.
we gotta give people some financial advice too.
Some money stuff. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Let's not worry too much about time, but
Yeah, I'm in a hurry, so we're good.
What? Let's open up with answering the question, giving people some context that may not know who you are. Like, okay, who's this Daniel guy? Why am I listening to his financial advice? Can you give a little foundation as to like maybe what you've accomplished or to give some reference? Yeah.
So, for context, 32 years old, and about 9 years ago at 23, like my eyes were open to this like realization. I was like, okay, I don't want to spend a career in a corporate situation, like in a gray cubicle farm. I was like, I have to find a way out. And like then proceeded this introspective 6-month journey of like devising basically a financial plan to be like, okay, how do I like quit by 30? Can I quit by 30? Is that possible? I'm 23. And the strategy that ended up manifesting involved a lot of real estate. And so on that journey, bought or co-purchased with a partner 9 properties, rented most of those out, flipped some of them. At some point had like 25 tenants, so like rented by the room, or they're duplexes or triplexes or so on. And then it was enough for me to quit my job at 29. And that was while I was still married, so we had like my spouse's income as well. But when that fell apart a couple years later, the rental income is still enough to sustain my life. And that like I guess like I don't strive for retirement. Like retirement is, I don't think that's actually really what people are after. You want to be work optional. You want to reach a point where you're like, hey, there's a cool project I want to do. I'm going to do it. Maybe it'll take 3 or 4 months. And we're sitting in one right now. You want to get to a point of being work optional. And I'm there for sure now at 32. We're like, you don't need to go do things for money. You're covered. But also retirement, meaning you just sit around and like that is overrated. And it gets old very quick. A couple months of that and you're like, okay, like I need to do something with my life.
Are you speaking from experience?
I am, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I hit this last October. I traveled for most of last year, about 6 months. And then I came back and was like, this is great. I'm just going to sit in coffee shops and I'm going to read philosophy and I'm going to write and play video games. I'm going to sleep until whenever. That lasted about 3 months. And by December, I was like hating life. I was like, okay, I am like the embodiment of wasted potential is what it felt like. I was like, I'm young, I'm capable, I have some resources. Like I have this skill that I developed with real estate and flipping houses and managing rentals and so on. And here I am just like playing video games and staring at my phone for 6 hours a day. Like, I can't do this. I'm dying. Like I need to find a challenge, like a worthy challenge. And then that's when I bought this place in January. And I was like, okay, back at it. I'm going to fix this house up. I'm going to convert the basement. I'm going to build a duplex on the side. I do a lot of work myself, but it's also coordinating with contractors and the city and inspections and doing the finances and getting the lending. And there's a lot of back-end admin stuff too. And all that is to say, like, it feels like a worthy challenge. You know, I wake up in the morning and I'm like, okay, like, Sometimes it's overwhelming for sure. I'm not going to lie. Like you get into a project where you're like, oh my God, there's so much to do. But in general, like, it's like, dude, what a privilege, man. Like I get to wake up and work on something that I'm passionate about. I don't have a boss telling me what to do. Like I'm financially covered. Like I just get to go do what looks interesting and cool and challenging. And like, yeah, I obviously also there needs to be a financial payoff in the end as well. Um, that's work optional life. And that was kind of my path to it. Number of properties. I can go further into detail on any of that, but
I think that's good for now.
okay.
I was gonna say you sound like the dude you sound like the positive guy on the slopes right now on the lift.
Yeah. I mean, I have to remind myself sometimes. Like, I got an email from the city today, in fact, with 12 more requirements of things that are like this kind of stuff. That'll block your energy for sure. You're like, oh man. So like, there's some setbacks for sure. Not every day is like rainbows and sunshine, but like most days, you're like, dude, I am so like grateful for this life, and I get to do the stuff I love with work by myself, and I bring people in that I want to work with, like self-directed work optional. That's like the financial objective.
Self-directed work optional.
Self-directed work optional. You want me to riff on that a little further? Because I mean, there's
sure.
Okay,
What do
yeah,
you got?
there's but jump in if you have another direction. But like the way that I interpret that is, you want to start with figuring out how much do I need to live every month, and maybe that's like, I don't know, $7,000 a month. Maybe that's enough for you and a partner, whatever.
Sure.
You want to extrapolate out to figure out, okay, well, how much principal do I need in order to earn $7,000 a month off of my capital? I mean, that's like what retirement is, if you think about it. It's people converting from living on their labor to living on their capital. Some people take the 45-year route. I think you could do it in 5 to 6 years, like if you're savvy. So you're saying, okay, I need this much per month, convert that into a principal amount. That for most people, $7,000 a month would be like 1.3 million, 1.4 million.
Oh, gotcha. As far as principal.
Goes. Yeah. And that is if it's like relatively passively invested. You could like take that principal and put in real estate and juice your returns with rental income and equity appreciation and sweat equity and all that. That's, but like the point I'm trying to get at is you figure out how much you need per month. You extrapolate out to how much that means you need in terms of principal. And then you start aligning your life to saying, okay, 1.4 million, like that's a lot, but that's not actually that's not impossible. Like you could get that in 5 or 6, 7 years if you're like really busting your ass on something.
Yeah, you mentioned the word savvy.
If you're savvy, if you're gonna almost certainly, if you're trying to do it in 5 or 6 years, you're almost certainly gonna need to take on some debt, take on some leverage. So you're gonna need to clean up your own credit score and finances so that you're a lendable person. Then you can take some of that money to buy an asset. I went the real estate path because that was the most obvious to me, but you could also maybe buy a business. Those are actually kind of the big two. It's kind of buy a business or buy a property, which are kind of one and the same in a sense. But yeah, and then you've got that property. Now it's just a spreadsheet equation problem. You're like, okay, I have this property. It's worth X amount. It's worth $500,000. If I add this much value to it and I get it cash flowing, maybe I split it into an over-under duplex. Like I've done that. Maybe I've turned one property into a triplex by putting a wall up and building an ADU in the back. And I mean, you get creative. That's the savvy piece. Like how can I get some cash flow to sustain my life in the near term, and then also get that equity play as well. And then multiply that out by 5, 6 years. Like 1.4 million is not unattainable, and like you're there. That's it. And now the last critical piece, man,
You've done it.
That's it. Ta-da! The last critical piece is not moving the goalpost. That is people think, well, 7,000 a month. Why not 10,000 a month? Like that would be nice.
Yeah,
and I
it's
could
like, well, I made it, or like
I could do one more house. You know, why not? I could do an apartment complex this time. You know, why not? You know, and then I'll have 10,000 a month. It's like, I mean, find a comfortable number for yourself, but like, not moving the goalpost is critical. That's like the capitalist American trap. Like, fall into that, and then you never stop working. You're in a game now that you can never win, And it's like, oh, I got to do one more house. I got to do one more. No. Set that amount. Adjust it for inflation, I guess, but like don't move the goalpost. 1.4 million or whatever it is, 1.6 million. The number is surprisingly low. A lot of people like think like, oh, I need $10 million to retire. Like $10 million? You're gonna live like a king on $10 million. In most, I mean, you're living in the Bay Area, beachfront property. Okay, forget it. You need millions for that. But for most cities, like $10 million, you're living like a king. You do not need $10 million to retire. You don't even need $5 million to retire. I'm using the word retire, but be work optional. Like $2 million is more than enough in most cities in the U.S. Let alone other countries if you're willing to do that.
Yeah.
So I guess like I will say though, you probably won't hit that on the conventional path unless you're willing to put 45 years in.
That's what you're referencing, the 45-year plan, quote unquote, or is that what it's kind of like known as?
I don't know.
Either way, just the long play, the slow burn,
the traditional path.
Yeah.
You know, where I'm going to save the 401k and I'm going to do the corporate thing. I'm going to save 5%, company match. Like, that's great. That's great basic advice, and that's perfect for some people. But if you want to get to a work optional status, you can do the 45-year path. There's no shame in that. That's great. Most people do.
Mm-hmm.
I had that existential crisis at 23 where I was like, I hate the corporate life. I was like, I have to find a way out, man. Like then you can start spreadsheeting it out, and you're like, okay, actually, I think I can do this in like 5, 6, 7, 8 years to reach that enough.
Yeah, I was gonna ask because you're it sounds like you're trying to offer reassurance that like the 45-year path is an option,
and
it's a reliable option.
Yeah,
is it?
Oh, definitely.
Still?
I mean, not.
Like, I imagine like it used to be more reliable, like that whole thing. But
it's complicated. I mean, like I had a coworker back in my corporate days. She was retiring while I was working there, and she was 67 or so. And her husband retired with $2 million, and she had done the corporate thing, and her and her husband as well. And they weren't like VPs of what, like they were like kind of like analyst level type employees, like lower on the food chain, like myself. And yeah, she did it for 45 years. She's 67 years old or whatever. 2.1 million or something.
Nice.
And she retired on that. She's 67. That's, that like I want to reach a work optional state
right
much, much younger than that. But that requires getting out of that conventional corporate path and taking on some debt, buying an asset that cash flows, that pays for the debt, appreciating that asset, both with time and with sweat equity. And then the real quantum leap financially is equity. That is where you're going to make your money. Like some people will make their money, doctors, lawyers. You can make your money doing the conventional labor income.
Sure.
But most people are going to make significant chunks of money on equity plays. And you will make more on a house that you sell, that you held and fixed up and sold after a couple of years. You will make more on that sale than you would have been able to save in 10 years working for a corporate job.
Yeah.
So
that makes sense.
You really, you want to reach that 1.5 million, you need to start thinking equity. How do I start accruing equity that will appreciate and that I can force to appreciate? That can be real estate or a business. You buy the business, you increase its cash flows, that increases its value, and then you can sell that down the road and get another huge equity play.
All good stuff. Thank you for sharing. Question about, feel free to, I don't know how much is too personal to share or whatnot, but your start, like you mentioned, you devised a plan at 23. Do you have advice on where to get money? Where to start with? Whenever I hear real estate, for instance, it's okay, well, that sounds like a lot of upfront cost. So not too dissimilar from, maybe we're talking about this already, but yeah. Or maybe this was a conversation from earlier. Either way, the point is, the
down payment.
Yeah, essentially, or the down payment, or I've never purchased anything large in my life. So I'm just like, where do people get money? How does it
Yeah.
work? Because I do remember an early spreadsheet that you had once. I don't know what project number this was. Because I remember even my brother reached out. My brother Caesar was curious about, I think the ask was like, hey, I'm kind of half making this up, but I'm looking for 10 investing partners. The buy-in is $5,000, and the expectation is in 2 years I'll be paying each of you back 7.5 thousand, like as far as helping supplement like a down payment or whatever the case might have been at the time. But like I don't know if that was a variation of how to get money or, but yeah, I'm just
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, that's the biggest barrier for sure with real
Hmm.
estate, the down payment up front. So my first experience with this was I partnered with a friend that I went to college with, and I had a job. I was making like 45 grand a year. Like it wasn't much right out of college. Um, and he was still in school, but he had come out of the Navy with like 45 grand in savings. Um, and housing prices at that time were like $350,000 a house. And so between my income and he had a little supplemental income from military stuff, but my income plus his little bit and then plus his 45 grand was enough to get us into our first house, and we bought that joint. It's funny, like the lenders all thought we were this cute gay couple. They were like, "Oh, you guys, like they want to pinch our cheeks. You young kids, like good for you, you know."
Uh-huh.
And it was like, well, whatever. But no, yeah. So we bought it together, and we fixed the place up. Did a horrible job of it. It looked like shit, honestly. Like
In hindsight or in the moment too.
even in the moment, you're like, I don't know, though. Like we did dark gray in the kitchen with like these red walls, and like it was pretty bold. But
Sure.
even at the time, I was like, oh. But before I sold that, I completely redid it again. But that's okay. You got to learn. But that was how I bridged that one.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I bought it joint with a friend.
And with the intention of it being a joint investment venture of some kind, with like you were going to split the sale or whatever the case was at the end, like that was kind of where you
Exactly.
both put the sweat equity in, like it was kind of like a whole, or I'm guessing there's probably some other plan, whether he could invest time or you had more time, whatever. But
Yeah,
yeah,
so we were going to do the work 50-50.
mhm.
We're going to fix it up. And then it was a 4-bed, 2-bath house. And so we were going to rent out the other rooms. And so I was going to pay like, once we did all the numbers, like I was going to pay $400 a month to live there. We'd all split the utilities, the four of us. He was going to pay nothing to live there. And then the income from the other 2 rooms was going to cover the mortgage. And that was exactly how it played out.
Nice.
But in the critical, man, this is so critical though, because like housing is the biggest expense month to month for like virtually everybody. Like if you start playing the game and start playing good financial defense on that housing cost, you're like, okay, I'm spending $1,600 a month. I'm spending $2,500 a month on housing. How do I get that as low as possible? Because that becomes the fastest savings for the next down payment on the next house, which might come a year and a half later.
Yeah, I got you.
So like, let's say you were paying $2,500 a month, but you find a place, man, there's details, but you find a place where you can rent out the extra space. God, I even lived in a trailer on the side of a house for 9 months, so I could rent out the main house and make some money to save up for the down payment.
It makes sense with the context of you're talking about a man in his 20s.
Yes,
like that's very,
I do feel like there is kind of a time sensitivity
I
to
guess,
this
perfect
business
for that.
model.
That's like same as like moving to LA and stuff, is like go there with the with that energy to like survive those harder times to break through. Like that's a like kind of like
Well, to that though, I would say, like, first of all, good point. I was single. I was in my 20s, 25. You can live with a bunch of housemates. It's no big deal. It's a little harder to do when you're 35 and you have kids. It's a totally different conversation. I will add back into the conversation though, like the alternative also sucks. The alternative is saying, well, I'm not going to bust my ass for 6 years, and instead I'm going to bust my ass for the next 30 years in a corporate thing. And I'm going to like deal with office politics and jobs I don't care about and blah, blah, blah. Like that also sucks. And so it's like, which suck does one prefer? Do you like that image? Which path do you prefer? I mean, they both suck. Like living with
No,
roommates
yeah,
or living in a trailer on the side of a house, like that's not ideal. I know it definitely was not fun, but
for
especially
sure.
because I was in a trailer when COVID started and I was like locked in my box basically all day. I was like,
That's rough.
"God, I'm gonna die in here."
But no, the context, yeah, that's great.
But no, I understand. Like it's not
Hmm.
practical for sure. It's not really practical when you're young
Well,
either, but it's especially not practical
I
when
guess I
you're
wasn't.
older.
Maybe I don't know. I wasn't necessarily thinking it wasn't practical, but I was like thinking it's perfect for somebody in that position. Like it sounds extra attainable,
For
and
sure.
yeah, more than the other thing. But yeah,
For sure. Yeah, and if
hmm
you have kids, I get it. This is like
yeah,
my whole thing of buying houses and live. They call it house hacking. You live in one room, you rent out the rest. That covers your cost. You're gonna break even on that house probably. Buy the next one, rent out the room you left. Now that house you left has some cash flow. Rinse and repeat, and just keep doing that year after year after year.
house hopping,
House hacking is what they call
hacking.
that. Yeah, like
Mm.
I get that if you've got two kids, like probably not realistic. I totally understand. Like, and I'd have to rethink like what I would say to that person. Like, I don't know if real estate is the most realistic path
Hmm.
for that person with a family.
But yeah, I mean, people do similarly drastic stuff with like a full family move back in with the parents to help.
That's true.
Like we own a house. Like I own a house. I've got kids and my wife, and I go back to my parents for 2 years while we're trying to flip this other house that we just moved out. Like there's stuff. Yeah.
There's savvy, like, and another dimension might be too, like, I'm gonna build an ADU, a mother-in-law unit on the back in the back lot. Like that might be a more middle ground, so you got the front house for yourself and the family, but you got that ADU in the back, and maybe that covers most of your living costs or some. And now you can start saving up that down payment all that much faster for the next house, which could be a true investment property. But yeah, figuring out how to play financial defense so that your main financial draw is not housing every month,
Yeah.
that'll snowball so
That,
fast.
that
And
makes
that
sense.
requires bringing other people in, living with housemates, maybe renting out a trailer or living in the trailer yourself on the side, building the ADU in the back, finishing the garage and moving into that so you can rent out the house. I mean, you got to get savvy and it's going to be uncomfortable, but the
Hmm.
alternative of 35, 40 plus years in a corporate office, like
Hmm.
that's not fun either. So,
I feel you.
yeah. There was one thing I wanted to add to that. If you have a question, jump in. Maybe it'll come back to me.
I was gonna ask about if you had any opinions on the term passive income.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
does Well, I guess the question is how do you is that a term that you would call the income generating out of said rentals and stuff? Do you consider it passive income, or how do you what do you call it
Um, I don't really have a
yourself?
good term for it, but I don't really call it passive. Ideally, you want to set up your real estate life so that it is as passive as possible. There are
Hmm.
ways to do it. You're going to pay a premium because you got to pay managers, and so there's ways to make it more passive. My own approach, and I'll answer your question in a moment. We'll circle back, but my own approach is like focus on the front end of ownership of that property, make it as gorgeous as possible. Like I'm not gonna like it's not gonna be luxury, I get it, but like it's gonna be as nice as I can possibly make it, and then stick a great tenant in there with great credit score and great income history. Like that's my approach.
Yeah,
Because then it kind of becomes passive, hopefully, because you have a great tenant with no headaches and they're going to take care of your place
yeah,
more so than someone who's like probably like struggling in life, like with financial and so on. Like property's going to get more beaten up. You're going to have more headaches. So you do want to try to make it passive. To answer your question though, no, I don't view real estate as passive. The end goal financially though, once you hit that 1.6 million or whatever it is to convert into passive, into truly passive. And that would be liquidating the property or putting rental managers in place.
gotcha.
But more the path I intend to take is liquidate the properties, put that equity, pay your taxes. I know it sucks, but pay your and then put that equity into the stock market.
Hmm.
And
Yeah,
that is the more truly passive. That is like, all right, like there's nothing like I'm not gonna have headaches from this
Yeah,
beyond
it's
volatility
just a number now, and it's no longer houses that I'm overseeing.
that I'm stressing out about,
Yeah.
losing sleep
Okay,
about.
that makes sense.
Yeah. So
Okay.
you want to get to passive in the end,
Yeah.
and then, but the path there is not going to be passive.
Cool.
And I recalled the thing I was going to add to the real
Okay,
estate
great,
conversation on the housing affordability question. This is the answer. It sucks to say and it sucks to hear, but unfortunately, if someone wants to play the real estate game and they want to try to get to the retirement in like 6 years or the work optional in 6 years, yeah, you're gonna have to move. Like you're gonna have to find a market where this makes sense. And a lot of people are sitting in the Bay Area or San Diego, and they make $90K a year, and houses cost $1 million, and they're like, oh, like I just will never own a house. And like, well, that's true in San Diego, or at least it is for the next decade plus, multiple decades. And this was my experience too. I was like, I grew up in coastal California, like North Coast, way up Humboldt County, and there's no way I could not coming out like even with my degree in like finance, and I went back. Like, I would never be able to afford out there. Like, I had to come out here. Like, I had to come out to Reno, where places were affordable. You could buy a house for $350,000. And so it's a big caveat. It's a major inconvenience. I know it's frustrating to hear, but when you're getting started, you got to look in the markets you can afford it, and that's probably going to be a less desirable place.
Yeah, that makes sense. No, I was kind of surprised to hear, but you moved here for the affordability of Reno, but you were going to college here.
Yeah, no, so it was more like I stayed here for the affordability of Reno. I came out here for college, and once I graduated, then I was like, I want to buy a house, and I'm looking around, I'm like, well, I'm not going back to California, like there's no way. But like I could afford here, so I was like, all right, well, I'm staying here. Like this is where I'm gonna get the real estate thing going.
I almost thought you were like 10 steps ahead. You're like, okay, I'm going to go to college in a town.
I mean, if I was not thinking about any of this stuff when I was that age, but like if someone listening to this is like, and they're 17 and they're thinking like, I want to do the real estate thing and try to like get to work optional as soon as possible and start building equity in real estate and investment properties and house hacking. Yeah, it might be something to consider. Like think about a college town that you can actually afford in, or could realistically afford in with starting salaries at that degree.
Speaking of college, do you recommend college for somebody pursuing a similar path to you?
That's kind of a wide question because I'm on the fence about college in general with AI and all this on the horizon. That said, I'm going to go with no on that. I'm going to go with no. If you want to go the real estate path, you do not have to go to college. I think most college degrees aren't really worth it financially. There are a few that certainly are. And if you're going to pick one of those, then yes. But most people who go to college end up worse off financially. And the alternative, if they had gone to trade school, which I also went to trade school before college, and that sustained me in college, which was like, so I have a little bit of experience with this, but like if people had gone to trade school instead, you're going to be making far more than a college graduate by the time like the timelines line up, by the time you would have gotten out of college, and then you have a starting salary, or if you have been in the trades or whatever field for X amount of years. I think you'll be much better off financially. All that said, college has other benefits. There's a social piece, there's a coming of age piece, there's a finding yourself piece. Like, education is a beautiful, wonderful thing. And yeah, there's other elements. It's not all about just how quickly can I buy a house. But to answer your question in this context, I would say no, you don't have to go to college for this.
Yeah, you don't need it to pursue this path specifically, but maybe it would be helpful for other life purposes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm hearing.
Yeah. I mean, especially like the dating scene is better in college than in trade school. Like, I get it. You know, there's other reasons.
Okay. Last real estate question, I think. This was a recent curiosity of mine. I think I mentioned Michelle and I are dipping our toe into looking into real estate stuff and debating kind of whether or not to rent a house or buy something small
Mm-hmm.
as a vague place to
That's okay.
start.
Yeah.
But I guess the question is how, and she helped me put this question together too. How are rental properties profitable in a housing market whose average mortgage is quite a bit more than what an appropriately priced rental would be?
That's a great question. So, um, firstly, most properties are not going to make sense right out of the gate. Like if you're looking for a turnkey house where it's like I just get the keys and I can start making money on it right away, forget it. That just don't exist. The only way that these kinds of deals make sense is if you can approach um, a deal with a mindset of like, I'm going to buy this house. It's not going to cash flow for the first 3 or 4 months while I make some changes to it. And maybe that changes, like, I can give some personal examples. Like, I bought a house once where I was like, you walk in and there's one wing onto the right with a bathroom and 2 rooms and like a large room. And then there's like another wing on the left, with 3 bed, 2 bath. And I'm sitting here thinking, what if I put a wall up right here? What if I put a wall up here and here, made the entrance into a hallway? You go through this door into the 3 bed, 2 bath, and you go through that door into what will then become a 1 bed, 1 bath with a living area. Like that's the kind of thinking that will make a deal. Like this house would never cash flow without some like savviness where you're like, okay, how can I modify this?
If we just rented it from you as a whole house, it would be harder to,
Yeah.
if you didn't do anything to it.
That's kind of my specialty now is like, how can I modify this property to unleash its cash flow ability? So like that's like we're sitting in one right now where there's a 900 square foot basement beneath us that is just concrete and it's been that way for almost 100 years. And when I saw this, I was like, I'm going to finish that basement. This thing would never cash flow. It just as is. Even with the improvements, it would still never cash flow. If you can add that basement though and rent out those rooms or separate it off and make it a separate second unit, now you might be able to get some cash flow out of it. And then this property also had the bonus of this lot next door.
Yeah.
Where I'm like, okay, now I can turn this house into a quadplex effectively. Now we're in cash flow.
Gotcha.
Realm for sure. Does that answer your question?
Yeah.
Like you gotta approach something where you're like, just operate on the assumption this will not make sense financially if I don't make some changes.
Yeah.
But I can modify this and then we can get a cash flowing property out of it.
Yeah. I guess a part of it is like there is a initial thought that I had, maybe a misassumption of like, oh, I think, maybe buying a house doesn't make sense right now. And maybe because buying the house that we're like talking about isn't for the purpose of an investment to flip. It's like to live in. And I guess maybe open the door to that in the future, but that's not really the initial purpose of it. So it's like, well, we just want a nice place to live that we can kind of grow together in. And it's like maybe the assumption was if we maybe renting a house makes more sense for like, maybe we rent for a year and then we go for it a year later. But I'm like, I imagined being able to rent a nicer house in a nicer neighborhood for the same price as a mortgage for a house that we would buy if we went that route.
Yeah, like the rent.
But I don't know if that assumption is correct or if it's like the rental amount for something. Because like the math in my head doesn't make sense. It's like if we're renting, then the mortgage is less than the renter amount.
Yeah, but you're not putting a down payment down if you're renting, so that'll save you like tens of thousands of dollars on the front end.
But not the monthly though.
But no, month over month, it might have been cheaper after you put the down payment down.
Yeah.
It might have been cheaper to do the mortgage than pay more per month in rent, but have not had to put a down payment down. And also not have to deal with utilities as well. Yeah, what I would add to that is like, if I were looking for a place with a partner right now, um, I would be kind of tying with what we just said. Like, I would be thinking, okay, thinking of financial defense, I don't want a mortgage that's going to cost me $3,500 a month. I will never be able to save up enough money for a down payment to buy an investment property or a business to start accumulating equity to get to my 1.5 million in the next 6 years. I want to avoid that. Or if I have to take on this $3,000 a month mortgage, I want someone else paying for it, as much of it as possible. And that's been a rule of mine for a long time. This actually comes from, God, the book's kind of a joke, but it's got some good nuggets in there. It's Rich Dad, Poor Dad. And he's got this
I've read
line.
that one.
Okay, yeah. He's got a line in there where he's like, if you're going to take on debt, like large amounts of debt, make sure someone else is paying for it. Yeah, that's so true, man. Like, so in this conversation, you're taking on that $3,000 a month mortgage, find a property that you can you finish the garage and turn that into a 1-bed, 1-bath unit? Can you finish the workshop out back and turn that into its own unit? I don't think this town allows you to rent out trailers. Like if you were to pull like a nice like camper or an RV on the side and rent to travel nurses, some towns allow that. But like go into it with that mindset of like, I have to have good financial defense here. I'm not going to take on this huge monthly mortgage.
Yeah.
Someone else has to pay for this. And I'm only going to look at properties that I can modify. And you will have to modify it. None exist that will just cash flow for you right out of the gate. As I mentioned earlier, they just do not exist. You have to walk into it and say, is there a basement I can finish? Is there, a workshop?
Yeah,
and it's
are there
gonna,
walls I put up? Like
or can I put a wall up here and make that its own unit? That's when that mindset shift happens, and you start filtering out properties that way. Like now you're only looking for things that will pay for themselves or as close to as paying for themselves as possible. Now you're in the wealth accumulation phase. Now instead of $3,000 a month drag, maybe it's only a $500 a month drag, and now you're saving $2,500 a month. Times that by a year and a half, and you've almost got a down payment for another place, or 2 years, or whatever it takes.
Yeah.
But yeah,
cool.
That's the mindset I would have. How can I modify a deal to make this cash flow?
Yeah. Okay. I imagine I have an idea what your answer may be on this. This feels like it might be a quick question. I'm throwing one more in here. House versus condo.
I go house for sure, because I don't want. I hate HOAs with a passion.
And that's condo central. Well, houses come with HOAs.
You're right. Yeah, sometimes houses do. Condos almost always do. And the reason I hate them is because all this stuff that we just talked about, hey, I'm going to modify this place, I'm going to turn this mother-in-law unit into a thing, HOAs will destroy you. They will hunt you down and crucify you if you try to do this without telling them. And there's all these CCNRs and these rules in the HOA book that you have to sign that says, I will not rent my place, I will not make changes, I will not add this, blah, blah, blah. Like, that just does not vibe with my whole financial strategy.
That makes sense.
So I'm very anti-HOA. I'll make some exception, but really you don't want to add another layer of regulatory burden. It's already a big pain in the ass dealing with the city and getting them to approve the things you want to do, and there's zoning and permits and inspections and all. It's already a big enough pain in the ass. You don't want to add another layer of a Karen who's going to like stroke her ego by like whipping you around and saying, no, you can't do this, no, you can't do that. Like, I just avoid condos and HOAs if you want to do this whole financial thing with real estate and cash flow and modifying the property, adding equity value.
Yeah, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
And that, I'm guessing the same. I don't know. The question is it the same for houses, or HOA is a little bit more flexible?
No, they might be equally as strict.
Because they seem very prevalent right now, but HOAs. But I haven't done as much exploration as you. But yeah.
Yeah, no, they're usually they can be just as strict on a house. But I want that total freedom. Like, I want to I need to repeat myself again, but all those things, finish a garage, finish a workshop, all that stuff.
Yeah.
I want the option to do that, and I'm not even going to look at deals or properties that don't have the ability to be modified into something that will cash flow, hopefully enough to pay for itself and me, and more, so that I can be making money. Imagine that. instead of $3,000 a month drag, maybe this is
You're
a
now in the
$500 a
green.
month
Yeah.
income.
Yeah.
That's game changer. Now you're going to snowball that income into
Yeah.
a down payment for another property real quick.
Yeah. That's great. Okay. Let's transition again.
Okay.
I just want to shout out a project that you've had in the works for a while.
Blowing myself on camera here.
Because we mentioned it earlier, you've been training in jiu-jitsu for some time, and you have, I don't know if this is, I don't know if we even call it entrepreneurial mindset of some kind, or this tendency to want to build and create. I don't know where this came from, but you can speak more on it too. I know some of it 'cause we talked about it, but you have an app. You have an app out there.
Yeah. Yep, I do. Yeah.
Can you talk about it?
Of course. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. So for context, as you mentioned, jiu-jitsu, I've been training for 11 years. And there's this problem in the jiu-jitsu world that when you travel, and even just locally as well, but especially when you travel, the first thing every jiu-jitsu athlete does when they land in a new place is they search jiu-jitsu San Francisco, jiu-jitsu San Diego, etc. And especially they want to find open mats. Open mats are when a gym is what it sounds like, opens the mat to anyone who wants to come and train. It's usually drop in. Sometimes there's a fee. They're usually free, but you can just train with the local school. No instruction. It's just come and roll. Called an open mat. And it's the greatest thing. I've done open mats all over the world. I've done open mats in Europe all over the place. I did them in Asia and, of course, in the United States. Every time I travel in the U.S., where are the open mats?
Yeah, you were just in Japan as well recently.
I was, yeah, in December.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, I trained with...
You did it there.
I did, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't... my app doesn't work in Japan yet, but someday. But
okay.
But I went through the normal process before my app, which was you go through Google, and then it takes you to an Instagram page, and then you got to scroll through the Instagram page, and maybe 6 months ago they posted a schedule, and they might have an open mat, maybe they don't, but then you got to go back to Google and find another one. It's a huge pain in the butt to try to find open mats. So I hired an overseas team of laborers to source every open mat in the entire United States. And that meant going on every single jiu-jitsu website for every gym in the entire country. And yes, I tried AI, and yes, I tried Python scraping and Beautiful Soup and all this. Like, it could not be done because jiu-jitsu websites are so ma and pa, and you've got someone takes a grainy picture with their phone of a piece of paper that's pencil written of their gym's schedule, and the AI is like, what do I even do with this? So it had to be done manually, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, I compiled every single open mat in the entire United States, and I put it on a map, and it's now on findanopenmat.com. And it's free to use at the moment. Down the road, I will try to monetize that. But at the moment, it's completely free to use. And you can search any city, and it will pull up every single open mat, like little pins on a map, with the details, the times, reviews, community notes, a link to the website so you can verify. And yeah, it was about 12,000 users. I just launched it like mid last year, and 12,000 users last month. And I'm just going to keep growing that, And
people are saying good things.
Yeah, great feedback. And the biggest thing that warms my heart, man, is when I talk to my jiu-jitsu friends, and like I might show like, oh, like I built this thing, or like, hey, there's an open mat here, like look, I got it on my phone, and they'll be like, oh, I've seen that website before, like I've used that. And I'm like, did? Like, yeah, it came up on Google.
That's awesome.
I'm like, yes. Oh, yeah, people are finding it.
It's working.
Yeah. So.
Super cool.
Yeah, as I mentioned, it's somewhat small now, somewhat new, but yeah, it kind of scratches the entrepreneurial itch. Trying to get out of all real estate and trying to get into more digital space in terms of diversifying income streams.
Okay.
And also, it's a service that I'm so passionate about.
And you were looking for a service that did this, and you just built it yourself, essentially, right? Like this.
Yeah, pretty much.
It's kind of
the
seed of it, I guess.
Yeah, there were a couple early attempts of something similar that never took off. They were like open sourced, and just they didn't have the data. So I was like, you know what? I'm just gonna hire the team needed to get this database built.
Yeah.
and that's what makes the difference.
That's interesting. That's cool.
So
Okay.
yeah.
Well, I hope that, check it
Yeah,
out, everybody.
yeah,
Findanopenmat.com.
Jiu-jitsu enthusiasts out there.
Cool. All right. I want to close this out. Unless there's, okay. My final question was going to be, I want to bring it back to the location that we're in. And I wanted to give the people an idea of like your day to day right now.
Okay.
What's the most recent stuff that you completed on the house, and what's up next on it to like give a sense of what you're tackling here. I'm kind of curious to hear because I toured, and it's been a few weeks at this point, but I'm,
Yeah, so active project that we're in. Most of the interior on this level is complete. There's a couple little minor things I need to finish up, but for the most part, it's rent ready. And then the last like couple weeks while I've been in permanent limbo for the basement that I've mentioned, I've been doing the outside, so that's been landscaping. I was building a fence today.
It smelled like fresh wood out there.
Yeah, cedar fence. It's all new. So I've been building that lately, and I'm painting as well. It's a brick house, but there's like trim and stuff. And then I'm also today, as I mentioned, like this is my least favorite thing about real estate is dealing with the city and trying to satisfy their needs. And every time I get an email back from them, it's 14 more things, and I gotta rip out the sidewalk, I gotta replace this, and all these things. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, all right, $10,000 here, $10,000 there. And I just got that email this morning, but so I spent half my day today taking care of what they need, and hopefully, like maybe in the next week or two, with the stuff I send them today, they'll green light my basement conversion, and then I'm off to the races. That's the stuff I love.
Yeah.
The outside stuff, it's okay. Inside stuff, it's like I want to frame, I want to plumb, I want to wire this up. Or have like, subcontractors come out and help me with that. I do a lot of stuff owner builder, which is just a permitting designation that allows you to work on your own house if it's your residence and so on. So I'll do that downstairs and build a kitchenette and a bathroom and 2 bedrooms and a laundry. And yeah, I'm chomping at the bit. I can't wait to get started on that. And then I drew up the plans for that myself, just like with like a software online. And then this is still early. I have the preliminary stuff done, but I'm starting the ball rolling on this new build in the lot next door. But I'm not on that much right now. It's all basement conversion.
Yeah. Okay.
But that's kind of my day to day. I mean, it's whatever needs to be done that day. It's right now, as I mentioned, it's outside, but soon it'll be framing and flooring and painting and drywall and all this. And that's what I enjoy doing. And it's just me and my crew, and or just me oftentimes.
Yeah. And then because I remember asking you this last time, but I want to log it too. You do so much of it on your own. This is I'm going to call it, this is like on the job training, or you mentioned trade school before too, but self-taught. Is this where do you?
So the trade school is for paramedicine.
How is the question?
yeah. I did not go to trade school for anything in the like housing
carpentry
trades at all. Like I wish I had. I was working on an ambulance and doing that whole stuff.
Right.
But, yeah, it's all been self-taught. My degree was in finance, so nothing to do with this stuff at all, except for the financial side, which is very helpful which honestly real estate doesn't happen if you don't have the finances figured out. So, I got to give it credit where it's due. But that said, it's all just kind of been learning the hard way. Like I mentioned, that first deal I did with my friend was a total disaster. Yeah. We floored it, we painted it, we took the popcorn ceilings down, we kept new cabinetry, and you just kind of like go in there and you're like, oh, I'm just going to figure this out. And like the first couple times you do it, it's going to probably look terrible. And that's true with anything. Any new thing you learn is
for sure. Filmmaking, all of it. Yeah, you get in there, you do a crappy job for a while.
Yeah, and eventually you start figuring out what works, and you start figuring out color schemes that work and materials and that are cohesive, and the design aspect. You kind of have trialed and errored so many different combinations. You're like, okay, you kind of get what works, and then of course like the technical skill as well. You just develop that with time, and The good thing about double-edged sword, I guess, because it's also a big source of stress at times. But I will say the good thing about real estate is like you put all this money in a deal, you dedicate some portion of your life to it, and you're staring at this thing thinking, this has to succeed. Like, I'm in this. Like, I cannot fail. Like, I will be destroyed if this fails. Like, or at least I'll be hugely set back. And so that's a pretty good motivation to be like, well, I guess I need to figure out how to floor then.
Yeah.
I guess I need to figure out how to drywall. And a lot of these things, like, deals will not pencil if you go into them with the mindset of just, unless you're loaded. If you're loaded, like, okay, do anything you want. But if you're trying to do this, like, financially savvy, like, deals will not pencil if you walk in and you're just like, I'll just subcontract everything. I'll drywall guys, my roofing guys. Every time you turn around, it's going to be $15,000 every single time, guaranteed. Electricians, you want to wire up the basement, $15,000. Floor it, $15,000. Put a roof on, $15,000. Like, these deals will not make sense. And granted, I do hire some of this stuff out. That's a part of the financing piece, but
yeah, you can't do it all.
You can't do it all. And if you want these deals to pencil, I should say, but if you want these deals to pencil, you need the mindset of like, well, what can I do myself? And maybe I will just figure out how to put some drywall up and make a wall, even if it looks crappy. But like, that's what it takes. And you figure it out. And if it looks crappy, you can just take it down before you sell it.
Looks crappy, break it, do it again.
Yeah, it looks crappy. When you go to sell this thing someday, hopefully you'll be better at that skill by then, and you can tear it down and redo it. I've done that for sure.
Yeah, for sure. Okay. Well, I do want to get us out of here, but before I do, was there anything else that I didn't bring up that needs voicing, that you didn't get to say, or something I didn't touch that would be nice to speak on before close it out?
No, we covered everything, man. That's everything I've been thinking about lately. Finances,
Awesome.
Spirituality, the parts work, the blockages, spiritual awakening, work optional, self-directed. Like, that's a lot of stuff I've been thinking about. And have been for the last 10 years. So nice. I think that we covered a lot of ground.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll say thank you for sharing. Thank you for, I guess, even just sharing as much as you have lately. You wrote the blog. There's no, you didn't need to put it out there for everybody to read. Like, you didn't, that could have been your own solo experience of traversing your own history, but you decided to put it out there. And thanks for being vulnerable and sharing and allowing those that wanted to connect with you to have that opportunity to learn a little bit more about you. So I appreciate that. Thanks for the pro tips on the finance side. And thanks for being down and for chatting with me.
It's been a pleasure, man. It's a great conversation. It's beautiful topics, man. I love all this stuff. So thanks for letting me share it with you. And I look forward to talking more about it in the future.
Sounds good. Okay. All right. That's the show.
All right.
Bye, everybody.